guys, welcome back to the Pokemon Australian National Championships.
It's getting to that time.
Yeah, it's definitely getting to that time where it's a bit of a tongue twister. We're about to head into round 5.
Yeah, so we're looking at round 5 coming up. Just by the way, for those of you joining us at home who are just joining us now, I'm Paul Coletta, and my co-host here is
Ellis Longhurst.
Yes. Round 5. We've seen a fair few interesting decks, a couple of metal decks. They've been a little bit more prominent today than they have been before. What's your take on what we've seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, pretty standard. It's what we would expect. We haven't streamed any Night March, but there's a lot of Night March here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the other top decks being Metal and, of course, Water, Greninja. We've also haven't seen any of the Darkrai Giratina, but that is floating around. There is a lot of that.
Yeah, well, that'll be interesting to see a little bit later, just because it has some interesting matchups.
So, what we're seeing now, though, is something a little bit different. So the match that we're going to have on stream is actually Mega Sceptile against Yveltal Zoroark.
Yeah, that's right. So Mega Sceptile is not something that gets played all too often. It's usually more of a medical than anything else. Now, we did mention earlier, I think it was when we were talking about Greninja, that Mega Sceptile has that Ancient Trait ability, Theta Stop, which means that any of your opponent's abilities don't affect the Pokemon with Theta Stop. So, for example, like that giant Water Shuriken that we saw last match, it wouldn't actually do any damage to the Mega Sceptile. So it's got that initial benefit of being immune to those weird abilities. On the odd occasion, back in Phantom Forces, there was a Pyro with an ability that said it could discard a fire energy from itself and then drag up a Pokemon from the bench. So that wouldn't work either. And more recently, something like Slowking from Breakpoint. It has the ability to Royal Flash once during your turn before your attack. You may flip a coin, and if heads, you move an energy from the active Pokemon to the bench. If the active was Mega Sceptile, it would just fizzle out.
Well, I'd say it was a good medical, given the fact that there are a lot of water decks, a lot of Greninja, a lot of Water Toolbox. But I guess in this matchup, the fact that the Theta Stop doesn't really help out too much. Yveltal Zoroark, they don't rely on using abilities to deal damage or effects.
Yeah, see, that's mostly the case. There are some interesting things here with regards to the Yveltal decks. Now, we did see a new Yveltal in the form of the Breakthrough Yveltal with Fright Knight. The ability, when it's active, then it stops the effects of all tools. Now, if we see that in our coming match, an interesting thing to note is that if a Sceptile EX has a Sceptile Spirit Link attached and Mega Evolves into the Mega Sceptile, Theta Stop is able to kick into play before that Fright Knight would stop it, and then it would allow it to Mega Evolve and continue the turn.
But I'm not sure that that's, obviously that's helpful, but given that Yveltal Zoroark, that's the only ability it really relevant.
And it's usually a niche one at that, but it is something that Jack, who is the Mega Sceptile player, will probably keep in mind while he's going up against Sean today.
I think more importantly is to look at the amount of damage that Yveltal Zoroark can actually deal.
Yeah.
Given that Sceptile has that attack, which when you attach Grass Energy from your hand to any other Pokemon on your field, Grass Pokemon, it gets rid of all the damage. That's
right. So the Jagged Saber attack for a Grass and a Colorless deals 100, and then if you can attach up to 2 Grass Energies from your hand to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. Now, as Ellis said, it actually heals off all damage counters from the Pokemon that received that Grass Energy. Now, Jagged Saber is the main attack, so 100's pretty low. Usually gets paired with the Ariados from the Ancient Origins set. It poisons both active Pokemon, excluding any Grass Pokemon, which means that Mega Sceptile would be immune. And allows Mega Sceptile to deal those 2-hit knockouts on other Mega Pokemon, but it also allows it to hit that really nice 110 damage cap that Shaman EX and the previously mentioned Trevenant from the XY set actually have.
So what Sean, I guess, will be looking to do is take 1-hit knockouts, and that's going to be pretty difficult.
Yeah, so Mega Sceptile has a pretty beefy 220 HP. With the Forest of Giant Plants Stadium, it means that he could actually evolve his Sceptile on the first turn and have 220 HP staring Sean right down there for from turn 1 all the way till the end.
Yeah, I'm not, I reckon that Mega Sceptile actually has a better chance of winning this game than Yveltal Zoroark does.
Quite true. The main thing that I think Sean might end up trying is that if he has any of the Yveltal EX, the Evil Ball attack does 20 damage plus 20 more for every energy attached to both Pokemon. Now, Mega Sceptile, it struggles to take 1-hit knockouts on those big things like the the big EXs. So if Sean's capable of building up an Evil Ball, if he has that available to him, he might be able to take consecutive knockouts there before Mega Sceptile is able to run too rampant.
Let's talk about Zoroark for a second, because Zoroark is a card that when it came out, it started to really I'm not going to say defined the format, but it became very big very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zoroark, Stage 1, two fantastic, and a fantastic ability and a great attack too. So it's got the stand-in ability. For those of you who played previously, it's the same type of ability as Keldeo EX's Rush In, which says once during your turn, you may change the active Pokemon with Zoroark. And then, of course, to follow up, it has a fantastic attack in Mind Jack. We saw that previously on the Plasma Absol from Plasma Freeze a little while back, except this one's a little bit different. For a double colorless energy, it does 10 damage as its base, plus 30 for every benched Pokemon they have. Now, if you remember something like the Mega Rayquaza we featured earlier, that can stack up pretty quickly if they get a little greedy and bench too many things.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, there's that Zoroark break.
Yes, that's right. So Zoroark itself has a break evolution. A simple attack. For one dark energy, the attack is called Foul Play, and it allows you to copy whatever the opponent's active Pokemon's attack is. So if he wanted to, Sean would be able to use Foul Play and copy the Jagged Saber attack, but he wouldn't get the benefit unless he was playing the Grass Energies.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, because in this case, Foul Play isn't like... There are no attacks that you really, really want to copy off your opponent that are going to put you well ahead in the game.
There's Foul Play usually works with those big attacks, such as Tyrantrum EX. It was featured a little while back before Breakpoint, so around the City Championships run. It has that Dragon Impact attack for 190 damage. Zoroark Break was really nice there because it could copy that attack for just the one Dark Energy and knock out opposing Tyrantrum EX. So anything with those already big numbered attacks, that's where Zoroark Break really shines.
So we're actually going to drop into the game now and see what the players are playing.
Yeah, sure.
Something immediately interesting to me, I think I just saw that Sean dropped a Combi.
A Combi? Alright, so that would lead us to believe that there's a Vespiquen lying around in his deck somewhere. Not sure how many of them, but it's really nice to see these Stage 1 decks coming into their own. So basically you've got multiple different Pokemon for multiple different situations. Double Colorless Energy is a very versatile energy, and it's good to see that he's using these two Pokemon to deal with certain situations. So obviously Mind Jack, if they have a big bench, and Vespiquen can focus on things that I guess are more built up. So something like, say, a Genesect EX that we saw previously, if it has too many energies on it, Vespiquen's role is going to be there to try and take that out.
So it could be more that this is less of a Yveltal Zoroark and more of a kind of dark toolbox in a sense.
Yeah.
One thing to comment on Jack's side of the field is his Sceptile. So you know there are two different Sceptile EX that can be played.
Yes, that's right. So there's the Sceptile EX from Ancient Origins. That generally sees the most play if you are playing the Mega Sceptile deck. It has 2 attacks and 170 HP to work with. So it's got the Sleep Poison attack that it does 10 damage for 1 Grass Energy. If you flip a coin and get heads, you can put the opponent's active Pokemon to sleep and poison them. Doesn't sound too fantastic, but if they manage to stay active, then your combos very well with its second. For a Grass and a Colorless, it does 60 to start out, but if the opponent's active is affected by any special condition, it actually does 70 more, which is really powerful, and it's far more powerful than Jagged Saber. It's just that, unlike Mega Sceptile, Sceptile EX doesn't have Mega Turbo available to it because it is not a Mega Evolution yet.
And what are the health points of Zoroark Break?
Okay, so Zoroark Break has 140 HP.
So that's perfect with an Ariados Poison, and it's 70 plus 60.
Yeah, absolutely. That would provide the clean knockout, and it would also mean that he can circumvent any type of tricky plays, such as a teammates, which some of these single prize decks like to play, especially something like the Night March deck, where pretty much all of their attackers are single prize.
So definitely. So having a look at the game now, it looks like Jack's got a pretty decent start. I believe this is his second turn of the game. He's got Sceptile down with Spirit Link and a Spinarak on the bench, which is really ideal. You probably want to get down another Sceptile, Mega Evolve, and just start going from there. Yeah,
absolutely. So it looks like Jack has the 2 energy ready to go on Sceptile, but Sean doesn't have too much on his field at the moment.
He's certainly lacking energy.
Yeah, absolutely. The Unseen Claw, because it starts at base 60, it will be able to take a knockout on the Zoroark regardless of what he chooses to do. But if he doesn't get the Mega Sceptile out, I feel like, Sean's board doesn't look too threatening at the moment, but with these decks that Vespiquen and Night March lie in, they have the capacity to really burst out damage very quickly with that Battle Compressor card from Phantom Forces.
They're also heavily reliant on DCE, so that's just a 1 energy attachment. It doesn't really require a setup of energy or anything like that.
That's right. I imagine the fact that he has that Yveltal, the Fright Knight Yveltal from Breakthrough, he's probably got a few Dark Energy lying around in the deck. I don't know how many though. I imagine it wouldn't be such a large count. I highly doubt that the Yveltal is the main attacker though. So we'll have to see how Sean is able to play out his turn from here.
And you'll see that Jack also has his prizes face up. So he's actually played Town Map, and it's a really quite a powerful card, even though it seems quite mundane. Being able to choose what card you get when you knock out a Pokemon, it just sets you up for the next turn and sets you up for more knockouts. It sort of starts a snowballing effect.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we see Sean actually play the Parallel City, a really nice tech card that we see in a fair few decks. And it's one of those niche stadium cards that has that dual effect depending on which way you face it. So it looks to me like Sean has played Parallel City in such a way where he would reduce his bench size down to 3. So once he caps at 3, then that's it. He can't put down any more Pokemon unless he removes them. However, the other side of Parallel City weakens the attack damage of all of the opponent's Grass, Fire, and Water Pokemon by 20 before applying Weakness and Resistance. Now, that would mean that Unseen Claw would go down to 110 damage after the status condition. And if Jagged Sable was to come out, that would only do 80 damage. So it's really not too much, and it would put him out of range of those knockouts because Zoroark and Vespiquen have 100 and they have 90 HP respectively.
So I'd certainly say that the Parallel City is actually in there, probably for a Seismitoad matchup.
That would definitely help it there.
But obviously it's highly relevant here. I wonder though if Sean's playing Shaman EX, because limiting your bench to 3 and then having one of those spots filled by Shaman EX, I mean, it's not really ideal.
No, of course not. So obviously you have to be careful when you play Parallel City because your opponent can also play around it too. It's a tricky card, but it looks like it's been removed pretty quickly by Jack. He's played down another Forest of Giant Plants. So we may see a Mega Evolution here, or we may just see him use Unseen Claw to take out the Yveltal from the active spot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, because that Fright Knight Yveltal is in the active spot, he can't actually Mega Evolve without having to end his turn.
Well, that's an interesting ruling because we talked about the Theta Stop trait from the Mega Sceptile. When it evolves, because Theta Stop is there on the card, it would stop that Fright Knight ability from locking it out of Mega Evolving, and that would allow it to keep going in the turn. So it's a unique, it's unique in that sense to pretty much Mega Sceptile right now. And the other thing about Vespiquen, being a grass type, it makes it immune to Ariados's Poisonous Nest ability. So that would mean that if Parallel City had stayed in play, Jagged Saber wouldn't be able to do enough, and neither would Unseen Claw, so that gives him 2 shots with Vespiquen. So I feel like Sean's big win condition here is to try and get Vespiquen powered up as quickly as possible.
So another card that's just come down is Gloom. So it looks like Jack actually might be playing Vileplume.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Who don't know, Vileplume is an item lock card. It locks both players from playing items. Ideally, Jack would want to get set up, play a Floatstone on his Gloom, and then evolve to a Vileplume.
Yeah, absolutely. The Vileplume there, it has 3 retreat costs. It's pretty tough to move out of the active spot, and if you don't have the capacity to retrieve AZ or something like that to move it very easily, he could find himself in a predicament. So usually the Floatstone will go down before the item lock comes up.
Definitely. So I feel like it might be a little bit late in the game for him to be getting the Vileplume out.
Quite possibly.
I mean, it's still going to give him a bit of an advantage if he doesn't have to rely on those item cards to deal damage. But
yeah, definitely.
It can be a benefit and a curse.
Well, the Vespiquen decks, they really like their Battle Compressors, so Sean wants to get those Battle Compressors pumped out of his deck and any irrelevant item cards as soon as possible, so that way if that Vileplume does come down, he doesn't have dead cards in his deck, or he minimizes the amount of dead cards he has. And that way he'll be less susceptible to Vileplumes if something like an N were to come out late game.
So Jack's already gone up 2 prizes. But what's interesting is, if Sean is able to take a prize, he's most likely going to be taking 2 prizes off an EX. Whereas Jack actually has to go through 6 prizes. He has to take 6 knockouts.
That's right, and those Yveltals with 130 HP, they don't go down too easily, unless, of course, he's using that Unseen Claw attack. Now, actually, if we look at Jack's board, it doesn't look fantastic, to be totally honest. He's got that Sceptile EX, but he has no other Sceptile down. If that Sceptile goes down, he's going to have a rough time getting another one up.
Yeah, definitely.
And if we see as well, Sean has a nice little card there in Unknown from Ancient Origins. And we mentioned that the Vespiquen decks like to use those battle compressors to... it lets them get the Pokemon in the discard pile to power up Vespiquen's Be Revenge attack. But Unknown is a pretty nice card too. It's got the ability Farewell Letter, which lets it discard itself and all cards attached to it when it's on the bench, and then you can draw a card. Now, it doesn't count as the Unknown being knocked out, so it's nice to be able to reuse, but it also means that it powers him up under that item lock, so it gives him just that little bit of an edge there.
Yeah, definitely. Having more Pokemon in the discard pile, weirdly, for Vespiquen, is a good thing.
Yeah, so we've seen this before come into play. Again, this is one of the old formats with the Flareon from Plasma Freeze. It was a fire with the Vengeance attack, same cost. All it did was it had slightly more HP, but of course it had different partners to work with back then.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Vespiquen as well, it gets a benefit from that muscle band, so the damage can start racking up quite quickly.
That's right.
Given that though, Mega Sceptile, I mean it's a Mega, it has a lot of HP, so it's going to have a lot of Pokemon in the discard pile for Vespiquen to do a decent amount of damage.
Absolutely, so Vespiquen starts out at base 20 damage with the Be Revenge attack. With 18 more Pokemon in the discard pile, it would hit 200 damage, and then with a Muscle Band, that would be able to do that exact 220 to knock out a Mega Sceptile. But that's not an easy feat, which is why Sean will probably try and use his other Pokemon a little bit earlier, and then whittle it down to just Vespiquens throughout the rest of the game. And because the Forest of Giant Plants is in play, Sean's pretty much happy to drop Vespiquen whenever. We can see that he does in fact play Shaman EX, but I would suspect that it's not an incredibly high count if he's trying to go the path of throwing single prize attackers at his opponent.
The issue with that is it might be a little bit too late for Sean. If he's just going to be sending out Pokemon to die and just doing little bits of damage to Jack. I mean, if Jack's able to get that sort of rotation going with the Mega Sceptile, placing energy and healing damage.
Yeah, that's very true.
If Sean has to wait till the end to start using a big Vespiquen to start taking prizes, well, he might have lost too many prizes already.
Well, some good news for Sean, and something interesting to note. We can see a Gallade from Breakthrough in his discard pile. Now, you're probably thinking, he has 2 stage 1s in the deck. That's a stage 2. How much room does he actually have to play these sorts of cards? Well, luckily, we have the card Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick from the Primal Clash set, which lets you, if you have no cards in hand besides that Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick, you can put a fighting Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench and then draw 5 cards. So that means you can bypass those earlier stages. Not only that, you draw those cards, and then Gallade has that fantastic ability in Premonition to look at the top 5 and rearrange them in any order. And to cap it all off, it has Sensitive Blade as its attack for another double colorless energy. So again, all these Pokemon running off that double colorless energy, it's very convenient. It does 60 as its base, but if you've used the supporter in your turn, that's 70 more. And if we saw Jack's field, he has Shaman EX there. Now, even though they have the fighting resistance, Sensitive Blade will still do enough to knock it out. So that gives Sean another way to take down the Mega Sceptile deck.
Yeah, it's a very interesting deck. I mean, with Gallade, we usually see it in like YGZ, so alongside Yveltal and Zoroark, but more so the Yveltal EX rather than the baby Yveltal. But it's been popping up in a lot of decks recently. I think it actually went through a phase where it was in Night March for a short period of time.
I think so too, because Night March can have trouble with the Jolteon EX from Generations. The Flash Ray attack makes it immune to all basic Pokemon's damage until the end of your opponent's next turn. So Gallade was a nice way to get around that. It also deals weakness.
The only issue with Gallade, I would argue, is that it ruins consistency in a sense. You have to fit in, Gallade, Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick, multiple cards that they're really situational. You have to have them at specific times, and you have to need them for specific matchups.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
It's at the detriment to other cards like Extra Trainer's Mail or VS Seeker or Puzzle of Time, things like that.
Yeah, so these stage 1s generally don't have room for the Puzzle of Time, which is unfortunate since they utilize so many double colorless energy. But Gallade is sort of, like you said, it's essentially ruin consistency because those cards are only dedicated to themselves. So Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick only works with the Gallade, and Gallade only works with the Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick. So it doesn't really benefit the Vespiquens or the Zoroarks in any sense. And I mean, I think it's probably worth playing for those matchups, like even the Mega Manectric as well. As we can see here, it looks like the first game is up. And
unfortunately, due to technical issues, we don't actually know who won.
Yes, so we'll have to see who goes first. That might be a bit of an indicator there.
Yeah, certainly. As most players are pretty much always going to opt for going first if they lose the first game.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen Jack with the Forest of Giant Plants. We know that he can potentially get Mega Sceptile out on the first turn, but it also means that Sean can get Vespiquen out on the first turn. So if Sean went second and allowed Jack to play down the Forest of Giant Plants, and Jack may possibly be able to evolve into Vespiquen and deal some heavy damage early on.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, we're having a lot of issues with the stream lately. It's getting late in the day and the stream's feeling it.
Own weekend and doesn't want to do any work.
Yeah, I didn't want to show up for today. A bit too much partying on a Friday night. But,
obviously.
So the winner of the first match was actually Jack, which, that doesn't actually surprise me. I feel like Sean just wasn't getting enough going to start with.
Yeah.
But I feel that Sean will actually have an advantage in most games against Jack. I feel like it's kind of even, actually.
I think so. The as we said, Mega Sceptile is pretty tough to deal with, especially if you don't have weakness to deal with it. There are certain ways to be able to hit that weakness on the Mega Sceptile. It is weak to fire. An interesting tech that some people choose to add in from time to time is the Flareon from Ancient Origins. It has an ability that allows all of your Stage 1 Pokemon to also add the Fire type to their card, along with whatever their original type. I think that Sean's playing that in this deck, and again, it's one of those cards where it sort of only works in niche situations, and Mega Sceptile is probably not one of those decks that Sean was heavily considering going into the National Championships.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't expect to see it.
No, there wasn't a lot of hype behind it, honestly.
I mean, well, I'll give a shout out to Anthony Smith on this one, though. He was, in one of his live streams, he was touting Grass decks and Sceptile because he was expecting a lot of water, and that was a pretty good call. So I mean, maybe Jack heard that, or maybe Jack just loves Sceptile.
Well, I know that Sceptile managed to take out a City Championships earlier this year, and I know that a few people picked it up since then. They possibly tweaked it with the new Fates Collide. Not too sure what else they'd be able to gain from there.
I think Revitalize.
That was from the Generation set. It's a really nice card, though. It lets you put back... It's an item card, and it lets you put back 2 Grass Pokemon from your hand. From your discard pile, just put them straight into your hand. And not a lot of other types get that, so it's pretty beneficial.
So going back to that comments that we made about sort of niche cards, with Vespiquen, they can kind of afford to have those niche cards because they actually run Battle Compressor.
Yeah.
So if those cards are irrelevant in that particular matchup, just get rid of them. Just put them in the discard pile.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Battle Compressor is a nice little engine as well. Thanks to Vespiquen. If you need a supporter, but you don't have the supporter, but you've got the Battle Compressor. Yeah. Yes, that's absolutely right. So you've got that Battle Compressor right there. It's a really nice consistency booster as well.
Yeah, definitely. So coming back into this matchup, I mean, it really just depends on who. It just depends on who is going to get set up. I mean, as I said before, my main concern with Sean is that he's kind of aiming to do chip damage, like with that maybe Yveltal, 30, 50 damage here and there, and then come in and swing with the Vespiquen. But all of that chip damage could potentially be undermined by Jack's ability to get that Mega Sceptile, dual Mega Sceptiles running.
That's right. So, I mean, if you have 2 Mega Sceptiles running at the same time and you can constantly go back and forth between the two, it'll be very difficult for Sean to take the knockouts he needs. But at the same time, the chip damage is not something you always want to heal off. 30 damage, it may not seem relevant, or it may be tough to heal it off, because then they might hit you with a bigger attack, and then you're in a worse position.
Yeah, definitely. Alright, so coming back into game 2, I guess Sean has, it's much of the same. A Combi, an Unknown, a Fright Night Yveltal, and Jack, of course, starting with ideal starter, which is Sceptile.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Jack's Shamans are nice and snug in the deck for him to keep drawing early on. And then the Ariados can come down at pretty much any time thanks to that Forest of Giant Plants, letting Grass Pokemon evolve as often as they want and whenever they want, basically. So
Sean here is actually Battle Compressing. And what's interesting, he also plays an Aegislash. But so what do you think he'll get rid of in this Battle Compressor?
Well,
looks like a Gallade and a Zoroark Break.
Yeah, so Zoroark Break, as we mentioned, it's a lot better with those. It's a lot better with those cards that don't have those, I guess, dependent attacks. So like Evil Ball, for example, from Yveltal EX, it's a dependent attack on how many energies you have and they have. Jagged Saber, 100 damage really isn't a lot, and unless you can't use Mind Jack, you're pretty much always going to want to use Mind Jack because they will have at least 3 Pokemon on the bench at any time.
Definitely. Well, at least Sean's got going this time. So, shamaning into 6 cards, got a few cards on the field that he can do some things with, but again, just the limited damage output, it's just not there.
Yeah, absolutely.
He just retreats and goes into Friday Night Yveltal, which is actually a good, unless he knows that ruling, he could be thinking that he's preventing a Mega Sceptile.
Possibly, although I imagine the table judge would be aware of that as well, just to make sure that it works out correctly. Now, I mean, Sean discarded that Aegis/EX. I'd say it's there for other Vespiquen matchups, especially that Vespiquen Vileplume deck, which pretty much solely relies on DCE, but also doesn't often play Hex Maniac because it would turn off their own item lock.
Exactly.
And then the Zoroark Break just wouldn't have the raw power in this matchup as it would in a lot of others.
So I see that Jack has actually discarded Ariados, and I think that's a smart play. I don't think it's really overly necessary in this matchup.
No, I mean, it would allow him to Unseen Claw any Yveltal EX for a one-hit knockout, but outside of that, Ariados is... Against Vespiquen, if Sean is pretty much only going with Vespiquen, it's going to be difficult. Like, Ariados doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
The only time it would be relevant is really against that Shaman EX that Sean has benched. Just because he could use the Jagged Saber plus Ariados to take that knockout going into Sean's turn.
I feel like Jack's priority, 100%, get 2 Mega Sceptiles out. Potentially also maybe get a Vileplume out, but I think really, just once he has those 2 Mega between them, I think that's just potentially game over for Sean.
Absolutely. Now, the Gallade, it's pretty tough to get out if you can't use your item cards, because, like I said before, Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick, you can only play it if it's the only card in your hand. So, if you can't use Ultra Ball to thin your hand, if you can't use Battle Compressor to just play a card and also thin your deck at the same time, it's unlikely Gallade's ever going to come out. So, if Jack's able to get up that Vileplume, Sean might have a bit of trouble in this matchup.
Yeah, definitely. So, here we have Jack, he's going to Battle Compress, so let's see if he's thinking what we were saying. Let's see what he gets rid of. And then he's getting rid of the... Yeah, he's
so far it looks like an Oddish.
Line.
Yeah. So I wonder if Jack does in fact play that Revitalizer card. I feel like it'd be a pretty smart play just because of all the grass Pokemon he plays. However, the Sceptile EX didn't used to run Revitalizer. They used to work with Hoopa EX because it allows you to search out 3 Pokemon EX, and that would allow people to just grab a Sceptile, a Mega Sceptile, and a Shaman, or any combination of EXs that they wanted at any given time. So they were easy to search out.
That was an interesting play by Jack. So he played Battle Compressor and he only got rid of 1 Oddish, but then he played another Battle Compressor and got rid of a Gloom from his deck. So he's obviously just trying to thin his hand as much as possible for that Shaman to get the maximum draw.
Yeah, I'd say so. Usually with Battle Compressor, you try to thin as many as you can. Yeah, so we've got the Mega Evolution there and a Forest of Giant Plants to allow him to evolve. Now,
in this case, he doesn't have any energy on his active Sceptile, so is it even worth Mega Evolving at this point?
It depends. If Jack is playing the Mega Turbo, then he could potentially Mega Evolve, attach an energy, and if he's discarded a Grass Energy at any point, he can use Mega Turbo and start attacking with Jagged Saber pretty quickly.
This is true. I haven't seen a Mega Turbo from him yet, though. But he does have a Trainer's Mail, so his turn isn't over, and he also, I don't believe he's played a supporter this turn.
No, I think he's only played a few Battle Compressors and a Trainer's Mail as well. But that Trainer's Mail, if I see correctly, it hit a Forest of Giant Plants. It's not exactly what you want when you've already got one there.
Yeah, definitely. Then again, it might be what you want if you're just going to Sycamore it away.
Unless, of course, you have an Ultra Ball. And then it's just nice discard photo.
And so he evolves and he passes. I wonder if he thinks that Fright Night turns off the tool. Or if he just had nothing else to do. But he definitely had an energy card in his hand. I'm not sure why he didn't play it.
I'm not sure. It's possible that
he may have played it on the bench, but no, I don't think he played it. It's
possible that he was waiting to play it just because he might take a lot of damage early on. Now, Fright Night is going to be huge because it allows you to hit an active for 60 damage, and then it hits bench DX for 60 more damage. So unless he's getting Jagged Saber down, Fright Knight's going to be able to take out 2 EXs in about 4 turns or so. So we'll see if Sean can actually pull that off.
Yeah, definitely. Again, I don't see any reason for not playing an energy card that past turn, but unless there was something that was missed. However,
it's possible that fatigue's getting to him. Maybe he's just missed it, or maybe he's just really thinking, no, I want to save this because I want the capacity to attach it later on.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, let's be honest though, in Australia we usually have 6-round tournaments, so once it gets to the end of the day, people are pretty exhausted.
Yeah, we can
get an 8-round. I think it's more of a case of who can last the longest.
It tends to be that way, and especially with 160 people. Again, this is the biggest tournament we've had in Australia in the in the TCG.
Probably the second largest would have been Sydney Nationals 2014.
That sounds about right, honestly. And then since then we've had it here in Melbourne. Now it looks like Sean might be trying to bring something active. Oh no, sorry, it's Jack's turn. He's played the town map, so he can see his prizes. And an interesting thing about town map, it's nice for you to know your own prizes, but it also means that your opponent is fully aware of what you're grabbing when you are capable of taking the prize. So it's not necessarily the best thing. So it's a double-edged sword.
And yeah, an intelligent player will know how to play around their prizes, and an intelligent opponent will know how to play around their opponent's prizes as well. So, as Paul said, it is a double-edged sword. Yeah.
Now it looks like he's got Jack has an Ariados on the bench. It looks like he's got a Spinarak prize. So I wonder if he's playing a heavier line, like a 2-2 line of that Ariados, just to make sure that he can get that going as soon as physically possible.
So here we have the poison has actually come into play because the Yveltal obviously is not a grass Pokemon.
Yep.
And he ends up doing the first attack, which is Sleep.
Sleep poison. Yeah.
Did he flip a coin? He
I
must have got tails.
I believe so, yeah. It just looked like a tails there. So no sleep. Now that's pretty big because if that Yveltal had stayed asleep, then he might have been able to follow up with an Unseen Claw. But now he's going to take another 60 damage from that Pitch Black Spear. And only that, he's going to deal an extra 60 damage to an EX. So he potentially knock out that Shaman EX.
Shaman.
Yeah, absolutely. Shaman is a big problem. Like, you have to use Shaman in this Sceptile deck, but at the same time, you want to make sure it doesn't stay there for long.
Yeah, so Sean will go down to 4 prizes, Jack will stay on 6, but I don't think anyone's overwhelmingly in the best position right now.
No, I mean, we've got Sean with the 2 Vespiquens, so that'll come out later. Unfortunately, Sean had to put a Floatstone on the Combi earlier, and Vespiquen has free retreat, so that Floatstone...
Irrelevant.
Yeah, so it's pretty redundant there. So, as we can see, high five. Alright, so, for those of you who may not be aware, a little bit while ago in a French tournament, whenever people would play their hand down to nothing except for a Professor Juniper, they played down the Professor Juniper, and they high-fived to signify that it was an amazing play. And I think it's spread over here a little bit as well, because we like to reward these amazing plays from time to time.
And so, of course, Juniper being replaced by Professor Sycamore is essentially the same card, so it's just known as the French Sycamore. You've got to give your opponent a high five.
Yeah, well, I think Sycamore is actually French, given that Kalos is based off of France.
So it makes even more sense.
So it's just a high five?
Yeah, okay. Classic high five.
Yeah, classic high five.
But, yeah, so, I mean, where we're at right now, I think it's fairly even. It could turn at any point, so if Sean can get those Vespiquens going, well, Jack's in a bit of a predicament. Sceptile's going, which again could just happen in one turn, one hand.
Yep.
That's a problem for Sean.
Well, I think Jack's biggest problem at the moment is that his active Sceptile actually has 60 damage on it. So when Sean uses Pitch Black Spear again, it'll go down to, it'll only have 50 HP left. Even if he evolves into a Mega Sceptile, his Jagged Saber can't attach to himself, which means he can't heal himself. And because Pitch Black Spear looks like it's going for the Shaman, there's not going to be any damage on the bench for him to work with in the first place. And that'll allow Sean to come in and take that knockout with Vespiquen and put Jack pretty much on the back foot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, having a look, we can see that Jack now has a... Is it a Mega Sceptile? Or no, it's still just a regular Sceptile. He's probably fishing for that Mega. Certainly wants that HP boost.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like Jack's starting to set up that Volplume line. He's just evolved into
too late, perhaps.
Yeah, I know that Sean's gone through a fair bit of his own deck, but Sceptile EX does have Unseen Claw ready to go. So that Yveltal is going down, but Sean's going to be able to follow up with
I think off that Sycamore, Jack actually missed the Mega.
Really? Well, that could be potentially devastating, because Jagged Saber would be just as good here, if not better.
He does have a Trainer's Mail, though, which could get him an Ultra Ball.
That would be nice, but...
I'm sorry. He does have a Battle Compressor, and he does have Revitalizer. So if you can see that combination of plays...
I imagine he'll be trying to go for that. He might use Unseen Claw if he believes that having the basic Sceptile is for his benefit, but... That's only because having 120 damage on Mega Sceptile and not being able to heal it is pretty bad. Yeah. And then he would lose a Mega Sceptile if B Revenge was to happen the very next turn.
Definitely.
So
it's difficult to say.
Yeah, no, so we'll see another Spirit Link going down onto another Sceptile EX on the bench next to that Gloom. And I believe he's going for that Revitalizer now, so he will be able to retrieve a couple of Grass Pokemon of his choice. Vileplume makes sense, and then the Mega Evolution. So I expect we'll see the Jagged Saber this turn if possible, and I would say it's relatively likely that he'll go for that Vileplume, and there it is there.
I've been having a horrible day.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're looking at, I think he's opting to just use Unseen Claw.
I think this is a smart play.
Yeah, so he doesn't lose that Mega Sceptile straight away. It means he can save it for another Sceptile on the bench over there later on.
The only concern is none of the bench Pokemon have any energy.
No, so again, he's put that Vileplume down. He can't play Mega Turbo anymore. That could be pretty difficult to deal with. I imagine Jack will possibly play Lysandre and try and stall that Yveltal active. But at the same time, if Yveltal gets a Dark Energy, it can slowly chip away anyway.
Definitely. I mean, I'm not sure. I believe the active Sceptile has 120 damage on it from two.
Two of the Pitch Black Spears.
So it's only running on 50 health left.
Yeah, so it's not a whole lot. And what Sean could even do is if Sean was able to play a Hex Maniac and then potentially use Muscle Man. All right, so there's the teammates. As we mentioned before, it's pretty good with those single prize decks. But it appears there might be some, possibly some...
I think there might have been some discussion about whether poison counted over for teammates.
Oh, right. So the fact of the matter was that Yveltal already had 3 damage counters on it. So Unseen Claw was dealing 130, and so that was a knockout without that status condition. So teammates are still allowed to be played.
But now, it's an interesting sort of consideration to make, whether, if a Pokemon's poison, you got to be aware of when you can play teammates and when you can't.
Yeah, of course. Now, an interesting play that I wouldn't have minded seeing Sean do, if he was able to do it, was play Hex Maniac, and if he was able to use a double colorless energy and a Muscle Band, Sky Return on the Shaman would have been enough to not only knock out that Sceptile, but remove that liability from the field altogether. Now, Mind Jack is a great play here. It's got slightly more HP than Vespiquen, so you can protect it for a while. And if Zerowat gets knocked out, it just gives Vespiquen that extra boon it needs to try and take those bigger knockouts.
And Sean is actually now down to 2 prizes, so that's just 1 EX away from winning.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I wonder if Sean, if he's capable of using Target Whistle, if he has something like that in his deck, he may possibly be able to bring back Shaman if he can play a Hex Maniac or even knock out that Vileplume that's active.
Exactly.
So I think Jack is just going to try and sit tight, hope that he can wait it out and get Mega Sceptile ready to go. But that Vileplume, it affects both players. It can be pretty tough to work around item lock when you've got it up. So I wonder if he'll pick it up at some point just to allow himself to use item cards again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not really sure what Jack can do here. He cannot risk playing a Shaman.
No, definitely not. Now, Jack has what looks like 3 Pokemon on the bench, so Zoroark's Mind Jack will only be doing 100 damage. It'll be just shy of that knockout on the Vileplume. If there was 1 extra Pokemon, that would be just enough.
It would be interesting if if Sean could get another Friday Night Yveltal in play, because that would actually lock the Vileplume active.
That's absolutely right. So Jack taking out that Yveltal earlier was pretty big. It meant he could put down Vileplume. But if Sean is capable of taking that Yveltal back, I suspect Jack would be in a world of trouble.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, he's got it sitting on top of his discard pile. It implies he might be wanting to get it back with a Super Rod or Sacred Ash or some other means of getting a Pokemon back.
Yeah, maybe.
Or he's just considering it, but...
I wonder here if Jack sending up that Vileplume there was a bit of a bait. So that way, if Sean knocks it out, then Jack gets the first turn of items again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, given that though, Sean has Vespiquen ready to go.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what Jack can do here to sort of come back from being 3 prizes down.
Yeah, it'll be tough to see. Zoroark is stuck active with a bit of poison on it, but other than that, it has no damage. It's not taking any damage, so it's allowed to just play. It's allowed to just play in the active spot until it gets knocked out by a Sceptile. Alright, so we see Lysandre here.
Was the teammates the still?
No, the teammates was the previous to knock out that Sceptile EX that was active. He retrieved the DCE for the Zoroark.
That's correct.
So It looks like he's just going to take the damage on the Sceptile. I believe it's the one with the energy. So once again, being stuck in that active spot, Mega Sceptile has 2 retreats, so it's not retreating easily. And then he won't be able to use Jagged Saber to himself. If he can follow up with a knockout, then that would be the game.
Yeah, I really feel like Jack's game suffered this time just from lack of energy, really.
Yeah.
There were a few turns where if he'd had the required energy, he would have been able to follow up a knockout with another attack.
Yeah, the Mega Sceptile deck can struggle a little bit with that, which is why some players opt to use Mega Turbo. From what it looks like, Jack has decided to forego Mega Turbo in favor of Vileplume, but that can play a similar role, giving him enough time to set up the multiple Mega Sceptiles, since it would slow down the opponent as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it looks like Sean's just contemplating his actions here. I wonder if he has a handful of items, but I definitely saw a DCE.
Well, that's always having a DCE is pretty much always what you want.
Definitely.
So,
other than that, he has a Dark Energy, a VS Seeker, a couple of other cards. I think one might be a Zoroark.
Yeah. So, Jax, I think he's pondering his next move. He's not too sure what to go with. Sean is just going with the Mind Jack here. I believe that's still just doing 100. So not enough for a 2-hit knockout. But again,
I think the Mega is on 200 damage at this point.
It does look like it has more than 100 damage. So all we need to see here is Sean knock out that Mega Sceptile. I wonder if Jack has the energy to retreat it.
Maybe if he does. I see this game ending in Sean's favour.
It does definitely appear that way, and even retreating it wouldn't be the if he was able to attack, that wouldn't be the best thing either, just because Vespiquen would get that extra 20 damage.
Any other Pokemon can come in and just knock it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, Vespiquen gets that extra 20 damage anyway, so we do see the retreat by the looks of it. It's a tough decision there, because obviously it sets him back too many turns, I feel.
Do you think that in a pressured, needing a quick game, do you think that the Sceptile deck would beat the Yveltal? Because Jack may need to consider scooping.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, we've only got 15 minutes left in the round. This deck, the Mega Sceptile deck, contrary to its video game counterpart, it's not particularly quick. It's more of a deck that lasts a while, so it seeks to outlast its opponent when they run out of resources from constantly trying to take knockouts, only for the prizes to be denied each and every turn with Jagged Saber. The opponent's generally stuck with weak attackers or just subpar resources to work with, and that's where the Mega Sceptile deck shines.
Yeah, definitely. See, Sean seems to be considering his options quite a lot here. Again, wonder if he just has an unplayable hand. I believe I see Pokemon in his hand. He can't play those because he has a full bench, but
yeah,
DCE as well. But he'd like to hold so he can put it on a specific Pokemon.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sean here, I believe he's just he's using stand-in twice, so that's why he's removing that poison counter, because the Zoroark on the bench is coming active, and then that Zoroark that originally had the poison on it can use its stand-in ability.
But once again, it doesn't knock out Vileplume.
No, it doesn't. But I don't think Sean really wants to knock out Vileplume. Alright, so Fisherman's pretty strong here. I feel like he's going to start powering up that other one in order to start that prize denial process.
And it must have 2 energy on it, otherwise he wouldn't be putting it active.
Possibly. I mean, again, we're seeing here a bit of a tough spot. And then, yeah, so it does look like he's got the 2 energy. He uses Jagged Saber and clears that Mega Sceptile of all damage. Now, thing is, that Vileplume, it's got 30 HP left. And Shaman Sky Return does 30 damage. Yveltal's Oblivion Wing does 30 damage. So, if Sean can take out that Ariados and then potentially take out that Vileplume, he's looking at a pretty good game plan as well. Now, the problem here is Jack has got his setup finally with the 2 Mega Sceptiles, and Sean is still playing under that item lock. He does have that Farewell Letter ability, but I don't know how much it'll do for him right now.
Yeah, this is interesting. I wonder how many Pokemon he has left in. He has in his discard pile. I feel like it should have stacked up to quite a fair few by now. Yeah,
well, I mean, he's got a few Pokemon on the bench, and he's evolved a lot of them as well. So he's just lost the first Zoroark. That's another 2 damage for Vespiquen. If that Vespiquen gets knocked out, then that's another 20 damage for a fresh Vespiquen. But if Jagged Saber continues to pile up, Sean will struggle to get out any attacks.
So this really is the point where the Vespiquen needs to be one-hitting, needs to be doing that 220 damage to just clear the board of a Sceptile.
Yeah, but I mean, then he's got the game. So that's obviously what he's going for. But it looks like he's just using stand-in. and I expect we'll see 100 damage from that Mind Jack again.
Yeah, definitely. Clean 100 damage, which unfortunately for Sean isn't actually even a 2-shot.
No, and the thing is, Jack has 2 more Grass Energy in his hand. So not only can he use Jagged Saber to knock out that Zoroark, but he's also going to accelerate those 2 energy to the Mega Sceptile on the bench, remove that 100 damage, and basically, not only has Sean effectively lost that turn, but Jack's only gained positives from that.
But how many times in a row can Jack
Jagged
do the
Saber?
Jagged Saber?
Yeah, it's...
to effect.
I don't know, it's
Especially
usually...
under item block.
Under item lock, you don't have your energy retrieval or super rod, so it'd be Fisherman, but you can't use Versus Seeker to retrieve that Fisherman. So under item lock, probably not too often, especially because you already have 2 on the bench on the active Sceptile, and then 2 go down. That's 4. These decks, they might play a high energy count, but 4 out of, I don't know, let's say 10 or 11 even, that's already almost halfway through your energies. So you can't really pull it off too often under that item lock.
And then we have an N from Sean. Now that's interesting because he's actually going to end himself down to 2 prizes. Yeah. Jack will go down to 3, but Jack will draw for turn, so he's actually going down to 4. So
yep.
I mean, I wonder if Sean had another options, or if he just wanted to get that Grass Energy out of Jack's hand, if there were any left.
Yeah, possibly. There's a chance we see Sean use Intelligence Gathering here. Vespiquen's first attack for 1 Colorless Energy does 10 damage, so it's pretty measly, but it lets you draw until you have 6 cards left, 6 cards in your hand. So it might just be a way for Sean to try and disrupt Jack and then power himself up and just try and draw into that double Colorless Energy. Sean's got enough Pokemon on the field to throw at Jack for now to hopefully build up that Vespiquen on the bench for a final hurrah.
Definitely, but I mean, as soon as Jack draws a Lissandre, gets rid of that Vespiquen with energy, I mean...
Yeah. Alright, well, we do see a DCE. I believe that's the 4th DCE, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so once that's cleared...
So,
you know what? I think Sean only has 8 Pokemon in his discard pile.
He's doing 100 damage. It's just not enough again. I mean, he's got Dark Energy to continue attacking, but I just wonder how often he'll be able to do so. At this late stage as well.
Yeah, this Jagged Saber.
Yeah.
It's going to be big. It includes the last DCE.
Yep, absolutely.
Looks like Jack will just be coming back.
Yeah, so
again,
that
dual Sceptile play.
The dual Sceptile and that Vileplume as well. It looks like it's pushed him this far. And we've just seen Oblivion Wing here from Yveltal. I believe Jack has 2 prizes left, so if we see a Lysandre and a Poisonous Nest, that will be the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a smart play to that Oblivion Wing. Once the Yveltal gets knocked out, that's another increasing damage for B-Revenge, but also putting that Dark Energy onto the Vespiquen so it can actually attack.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's going to be tough to see how Sean can pull this off.
Sean actually dropped a Shaman, which...
That was a little while ago. That was early I think it may have even been turn 1, just to try and get his setup going.
But,
again,
that's just a liability. It just needs a Lysandre to win then.
Yep, so it looks like Jack is trying to dig for that potential win this turn. I wonder if he needs to do that. Now, he won't knock out the Yveltal, and that Yveltal probably won't be able to move from the active spot either. So I wonder if he can just take his time here, especially because Sean, being under that Vileplume lock, is obviously affecting Sean more than Jack.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, another factor is we also only have 8 minutes left in this round, so if Sean can take the win somehow, very likely this will just be another tie like the previous game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Mega Sceptile doesn't exactly go for those quick knockouts. Vespiquen can, but it needs a lot of Pokemon in the discard pile. And unless you're getting 2 or 3 Battle Compressors in the first turn, it's not happening that early.
It's very difficult, yeah. No, but we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got 110 damage on the Yveltal.
So that would be from that Jagged Saber. So it looks like he either didn't get it looks like he just didn't get the Lysandre for the game winning knockout.
But like you said, he likely has another turn.
Yeah. I mean, there is another Zoroark.
I mean, Sean can't play Floatstone, and it's unlikely he's going to attach to Retreat, although that is an option.
That's true. I think he just opts to use Oblivion Wing. Yeah, that's it. He's just used Oblivion Wing. There's not a whole lot he can do, but I expect that the Yveltal will get knocked out this turn.
I would be interested to know what cards he has in his hand, to be honest. Like, what options he has available to him or not.
I'd say it's pretty clear he doesn't have too many, and I would say, more likely than not, they're all items.
Probably.
Except for that Zoroark he just put down. So, again, Jack in a pretty comfortable position. It looks like he's sending up that Vileplume. I'd say he's letting the Poison take the knockout, but that, if Sean had that double colorless energy for Shaman, that could prove to be interesting. But again,
down to one prize.
Down to one prize is
he might be baiting the Vileplume knockout.
Yeah, absolutely.
He just took a VS Seeker from his prizes, so that just opens up a world of opportunities to Lysandre or do whatever he needs to do to get the final knockout.
Yeah, very true. So the fact that Jack's on one prize, anything gets knocked out by a Mega Sceptile in combination with Ariados at this point. So Sean needs to do something this turn. He either needs to get Lysandre to go around and take out that Shaman, or he needs to find a way to discard that Float Stone in the active spot, possibly with something like a Xerosic if he has that in his hand, if he has that in his deck even.
But remembering that stalling that Vileplume, having it locked in the active position doesn't actually help Sean because he didn't win the first game.
That's true, although I think Jack's running low on cards, much like Sean is.
He has a Mega Sceptile ready and waiting though to come in and finish the game.
Yeah, of course. So unless he can get rid of that Float Stone, there's not a whole lot that Sean's really going to be capable of doing.
So Sean actually puts Zoroark as the active.
Yeah, now he does go for that Moonlight Madness, but it confuses Vileplume. But back in the day, it would mean that if you wanted to retreat, you had to flip a coin to see if you could retreat. Nowadays, confusion, you can just retreat, and Jack has the game. That's it. So it looks like Jack will be 5-0 moving on to the 6th.
So Sceptile is 5-0 at the Australian Nationals. That's pretty exciting, actually.
Yeah, it's very rare to see a deck like that actually take such a strong lead into a championship such as the National Championships.
I think it was actually, to be honest, a really good medical. People were saying Vespiquen superior as the grass options, but I think Jack recognises Sceptile is just a very consistent deck. It's been tweaked for a few months now. He just came into this with confidence, and he read the meta quite well.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's quite clear that he didn't put that Vileplume line in just willy-nilly. He clearly thought about it. He's obviously play-tested it a bit in order to get that really nice, consistent list, while at the same time having that Vileplume to opponent, especially because if he goes first, if he goes against those other decks that rely on Battle Compressor, he locks them out of the game and gives him a really big chance to take the game.
And I know I keep saying it, but Night March. You prevent Night March from accessing items, and you're really limiting the amount of damage they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So looks like here we're
actually called Jack over for a little quick chat, a bit of an interview to see how he felt about that game and why he actually chose Sceptile.
Yeah, all right. I think this sounds like a pretty good idea, but we'll talk to the players in a little while. So we'll just head off for now, but we'll catch you guys in a few minutes.
Yep. Hey guys, thanks for sticking with us. We're back with the winner of round 5 in that match that we just featured, Jack Underwood.
Hi,
congratulations on winning.
Thank you very much.
People were pretty excited that you were playing Sceptile at this event.
I heard that.
Yeah, it's very, I guess it's unusual given that I think you're the only one.
Am I really?
Yeah, I don't think there are any others.
Yeah, well, I thought that Seismitoad, Toad Bats, and Waterbox would be very popular decks, and I like my tech of Vileplume as well, and the revitalizers and battle compressors. The engine works really well.
Yeah, definitely. Have you been testing Sceptile a lot for a while?
I played Sceptile at the Melbourne Regionals, which I came 17th in. I know, very
so
close, top 16.
Yeah,
I
know.
The only thing I missed was a town map because
Pokemon trading card game players,
for those
that is
people,
time.
I only run a 1-1-1 line.
So what was the reason for putting the Vileplume in?
The Vileplume was put in mainly just for the odd matchup that I would get that wouldn't go my way. So an example would be Trevenant. Today I was Trevenant playing that deck pretty much. Playing against that deck, I had to. They use a lot of items, and just getting the 1-1-1. Just putting it down, stopping them from playing items.
It came up big in that second game, actually.
Definitely, yeah.
Towards the end, it looked like, I don't know what you guys were talking about on. I don't.
Yeah. So I also only just found out that apparently my Mega Sceptile stops Fright Night.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
I just heard about that, and I'm just thinking because the first game was okay, I had to, like, I was going to Mega on my way, that doesn't work, and, like, I just didn't think of it. And now I thought of it, I'm just thinking, oh, wow.
Certainly worked out well at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what you guys are talking about, but did Sean have a lot of items in his hand at the end?
I'm not too sure. I wasn't too sure. Like, we didn't talk about it. Like, I'm guessing because he had a big hand, he wasn't playing anything. I was guessing that was the idea.
Yeah, he was holding a lot of DCs for a while, but and then in the first game, we didn't see what happened. But how did the first game end?
The first game ended. I was pretty much just fully set up. Valpo Marinos, Sceptile. So he just decided, we're going to get into it.
So in that matchup, did you prioritize Valpo or Arianos, or did you think one was irrelevant?
Well, I prioritized getting at my Sceptile, setting up. Like, example, if I was versus the Yveltal was the active, I would attack with the normal Sceptile, not the Mega, because the normal Sceptile does 130, which actually makes out the Yveltal's Mega only does 100. So, yeah.
I think we were saying that once you got the two Mega Sceptiles in play, it was almost like an unstoppable combination.
That's it. I was on 200 health, I had 200 hit points, and I'm just like, alright, retreat into Valpo. Pass.
What was the idea with that? Were you baiting the Valpo kill?
If he did get the kill, I had 2 revitalizers in my hand, so I could have just ended float stone, so I could have set up even more stronger.
It was
but
well thought out.
And since he didn't even knock it out, I just set up another Sceptile, fished him into all my energies back, and just kept doing the loop.
I mean, yeah, that's the main game plan.
That's it.
So, I guess how are you going this season?
So this season, it's my first real competitive season of attempting to get my invite. So far, I've only top 8'd 2 city championships with Tyranium and Camerupt. Yes, Camerupt.
So you're the king of the unconventional.
I'm the king of the strange. Yes.
Yeah. Well done. I mean, 5 wins at the Nationals, not something to take lightly. I think that guarantees you for top 32. But obviously, you're pushing for the top 8.
Because I'm only on 40 championship points. I'm pushing for the top 8 at least.
Now you're pushing for the crown, I'm sure.
I'm pushing for the crown. I'm pushing to say that Sceptile is not a joke.
Sceptile is not a joke. I like it. So, when you were considering playing Sceptile, did you consider the amount of water that might be in the field?
Yes, I did. I was thinking Greninja is the biggest thing. Like Greninja, Water Box, Toad Bats. For example, George Palmer. He played Toad Bats and he took 3 regionals in a row with the same deck. So I'm thinking everyone's going to see that and think, right, Toad's the play, Greninja's the play, there's so many Greninja around, and
I think if we look at our statistics, there's actually 24 water decks total.
Wow.
So, good call.
I made a good call, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
The Valplume, I just wanted to go back, Valplume also helps me in Night March matchup.
Yes,
definitely. Okay. So it's like, if I get a turn 1, the savior of my deck is adding a town map.
Yeah, okay.
Because if one of my Valplume line is prized, I can town map and I see exactly where it is.
Or you can decide to just get rid of Valplume.
Exactly. I had a game today where I discarded the Gluminonish, town mapped, saw a Revitalizer and a Valplume, knocked out a Shaman, picked up Revitalizer, Valplume, and I'm just like, alright, next turn, Valplume.
Yeah, perfect. I guess with Valplume though, the worry is that you can't get the float stone on, and
that's
stuck
trouble.
in the active.
That is a trouble, but the thing with Sceptile is you don't, there's a different, Vespiquen Yveltal, they only run DCEs, so they can't manually attach and retreat. Sceptile, you still can do that. Like, you can still just attach 3 energy, manually retreat and attack.
Yeah, definitely.
Or just AZ or anything like that.
So how many AZ do you run?
I only run the 1. I run my supporter list is take pretty much 3 Sycamore and Lysander, Fisherman, AZ, that's it.
Okay, so a lot of sort of like one-offs as well. It's interesting. Alright, so I guess there's one other thing we have to address. Your shirt.
Oh, my shirt?
The shirt that says people like grapes.
It's kind of lost. I tried to show it off in the stream. I tried to show him in the stream. I'm not sure if he got it, might have been cut off, but...
So tell me why. Do you like grapes?
Yeah, of course I like grapes. People really, honestly, generally do like grapes. I feel like it's just like they're good, they're small little things that you can just eat during out the day, just have a bag of them, that's it.
Solid, good shout out to grapes.
Yeah, shout out to grapes. Shout out to Rooster Teeth as well, for making the show.
Rooster Teeth, shout out to them.
Yeah.
But well done. Good
Thank
luck.
you very much.
Hopefully, 3 more wins and we see you in top 8.
Definitely. Thank you.
First seed all the way.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Is your round 7.
So we'll be back later with round 6 once the pairings are up, and stay tuned. Yeah, good job. That's really exciting, I think.
I'm so excited.